What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today, oh my goodness, we have a lot to talk about. The Black Armory DLC was officially revealed with a new Bungie ViDoc video that they did release. It goes over exactly what's coming in the Black Armory and frankly, what's coming for the whole next year in Destiny 2, and so let's get started. But just before we do, very quickly guys, I've partnered with ASTRO, so if you're looking for amazing gaming headphones, just click the link in the description down below to apply a discount that's going to save you money and help me out, even on the brand new just announced ASTRO controllers. That's all. Alright, now let's get started here with what is actually happening and when, because Black Armory officially launches on December 4th. But what does that actually mean? What kind of content are we getting on the 4th? Well, it turns out not that much actually, and rather Black Armory and the other two annual pass DLCs with Joker's Wild and Penumbra are going to be rolling out over a period of time. But one of the first brand new things we are going to see on the 4th is the first forge, the Volunteer Forge. Now, forges are one of the new activities being added with the Black Armory. It is a match-made horde mode event, so you go in and you actually have to essentially craft weapons yourself by turning on this forge, defending it from enemies, and I have some background gameplay playing now from the ViDoc. These seem pretty interesting and they seem like our main portal into getting those new Black Armory weapons. It seems like this is kind of a, I would say, a Gambit-like activity where there's going to be specific Black Armory weapons, just like there's Gambit weapons. It's match-made, you go in with a group of people, but there's no PvP component. In fact, maybe it's more comparable to strikes, but it's essentially a new match-made activity that we have access to, offering brand new rewards. The thing is, it isn't just, the forge and that's all the new Black Armory weapons and that's it. In fact, the forges are actually broken up into several different ones with several different factions represented. Essentially, in Black Armory, there's three main families that all have their own unique Black Armory weapons. So Volunteer, I think, is more of the Norse style weapons. You have more Japanese style weapons in one, then you have a French foundry as well, and each one brings their unique flavor with the family behind the lore of that particular foundry. So that very first Volunteer Forge that launches on December 4th is going to offer a certain selection of rewards, and then when new forges launch later down the line, there'll be new rewards offered every time that happens. In fact, now that we've explained what forges are, let's take a look at the full calendar for Black Armory. So, on December 4th, like I said, you have that first Volunteer Forge. On December 7th, you have the Goffenen Forge, and then after that, also on December 7th, we have the brand new Raid Lair. Now let's stop here for a sec and talk about that new Raid Lair. Yes, Black Armory has a Raid Lair, and it's set in the last city, which is absolutely crazy. In fact, here are the two promotional images that are associated with this Raid Lair. They also did release a little bit of Raid Lair gameplay that's going to be playing in the background. So not only am I very interested in going back to the last city, going back in the capacity of a whole Raid Lair, like that is really piquing my interest. I do wish Bungie would have not released it so quick after December 4th. I do wish they allowed a little bit more time to play and enjoy the expansion, because this is going to be a rat race to get ready, only 3 days, and also there is going to be a power level increase of 50 light. So now the new max power level is 650 with Black Armory. However, continuing with the calendar, the next event is going to be the new free event with the Dawning on December 11th. That's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully they will continue the trend of adding practical gear like they did with the horror story in Festival of the Lost. So looking forward to see more about that. Moving on from there, on December 18th, we have a launch of a brand new forge, the Izanami Forge, and then we have the Niobe Labs on January 8th. That does look like, as well, kind of a new forge activity, or perhaps it's an extra special forge activity judging by the picture. However, it's not called a forge activity, so that's going to be interesting. And then on January 29th, we have a brand new exotic quest, the Draw. Now, the fact that it's called the Draw is making everyone think of the Last Word, the famous Destiny 1 exotic. It's a hand cannon. You definitely do draw it and shoot it from the hip, so that definitely is a connection to be made, but really we have no idea. We're gonna have to wait and see what the exotic coming with this brand new exotic quest is going to offer. But also in the ViDoc, Bungie did talk about how they're very inspired by the Whisper quest, so hopefully this will be as expansive, as cool, as secret as the Whisper quest. And then moving on from there, the last thing on the calendar on February 5th is Crimson Days, another free event to all players. And just like the Dawning, like I mentioned, hopefully they're adding practical gameplay rewards with this event as well. So we've talked about the new activities coming in Black Armory, but now let's talk about the rewards, including exotic weapons. But first, let's take a look at some of the brand new mods that are coming in this expansion. So they were showcasing a new Black Armory shotgun, which, let me just stop here before we go over the mods. If you look closely, it actually has the perk Trench Barrel. That is the exact same symbol that you find on the Escalation shotgun, so that is really interesting. Are they adding Trench Barrel as a randomly rolled perk into the Black Armory weapons? That is super cool. Now actually, in a totally different update with the balancing update that we'll go over in a different video, they did nerf Trench Barrel, so it only affects the first 3 rounds. Still going to be very powerful. But let's move on from there and take a look at these new mods. The first one is Quick Access Sling. Swap weapons much faster for a short duration after emptying the magazine. Basically, a version of Quick Job that comes in mod form. After that, we have a really interesting one with Surrounded Spec. Increase the damage granted by surrounded. Bonus damage lingers for a brief time when no longer surrounded by 3 or more enemies. So this is interesting because it sounds like you have to have the surrounded perk on your weapons, because it says increase the damage granted by surrounded. So this is an interesting new design space Bungie is going in with these mods. Instead of just having a random extra perk, they're augmenting a perk you already have. We're going to see this more with the other mods. In fact, right after that, we have Dragonfly Spec. Increases the radius and damage of Dragonfly. So if you have a weapon with the Dragonfly perk, you really like it, you put on Dragonfly Spec, it's gonna be even better. After that, we have a mod I'm really interested in with Rampage Spec. Increases duration of Rampage. I love the Rampage perk. I use it all the time in PvE especially, and being able to have this spec and then reload and still keep your ×3 stacks or go a little bit longer before engaging and killing another enemy and so on. This is just going to increase the amount of time you have Rampage up, which is going to increase your overall damage output. That's really interesting. After that, we have Sprint Grip. Temporarily increases the weapon's ready speed and aim down sights after sprinting. That is really interesting. That's basically Gung Ho from Black Ops 4. It's going to allow you to play much more aggressively and get the jump on opponents. And the last new mod shown off was Radar Booster. Slightly increases the range at which radar detects enemies. Could be really interesting for PvP. Now, moving on from there, let's take a look at some of the new exotics coming in Black Armory. First off, they have this crazy new fusion rifle which shoots a homing fireball. There's no other way to describe it, and this little thing that kind of fits over your hand almost like a Mega Man blaster just seems super fun to use, and we have some gameplay playing in the background. Moving on from there, we have a really cool falling grenade launcher, but thankfully we don't just have to go on what's described, we have the actual exotic perk shown off right here. This new exotic grenade launcher is called the Anarchy, and its exotic intrinsic perk is Arc Traps. Grenades stick to surfaces and chain arc bolts to other mines. So it sounds like you could shoot on one side of an enemy and then on the other side, and then it'll chain lightning between your 2 projectiles and hurt that enemy. That sounds pretty crazy. Gonna have to wait and see what this is actually like in game. Moving on from there, we have a brand new exotic bow, and in the ViDoc, it was described as being thorn-like. The thorn, a famous exotic hand cannon from Destiny 1, where shooting an enemy would cause damage over time, but again, we have the screen right here. It's called the Le Monarch, and its exotic intrinsic perk is Pestilence Arrows. On a perfect draw, a hit target receives damage over time. On a perfect draw with a precision hit, all enemies in the Void Cloud receive damage over time. Wow, so this seems pretty interesting. So if you can get that draw and snipe an enemy in the head, not only are you going to do considerable damage for getting a precision bow shot, you're going to create a damage over time cloud. I really wonder if those two things combined, the headshot and the cloud, are enough to kill an opponent just by themselves. But that cloud is going to damage any enemies that go inside of it, you know, not just the guy you hit. So you could potentially lock down lanes in PvP if you're hitting your headshots, and that's super interesting. And moving on from there, we have the sniper rifle that was shown off in the teaser forever ago. A lot of people were speculating on what the heck this thing would be. Well, it's a new exotic sniper called Izanagi's Burden, and its exotic intrinsic perk is Honed Edge. Holding reload consumes the magazine and loads a round with an additional range and damage. And they were saying in the ViDoc that if you do this, consume your magazine for 1 mega shot, your damage is going to be rivaling stuff like the Whisper of the Worm. Now you've got me very interested. And so guys, that is it for the video. Want to focus on all the information surrounding the very soon approaching Black Armory expansion. There is some additional information out there, but this would be like a 40-minute video or longer if I went over absolutely everything. So I wanted to keep it concise and again, just focus on Black Armory. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.